Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, and today this video is for those of you who own firearms, gun owners, anybody that got a gun, whether you got it legally or illegally. This is for you. Share this video. Go ahead and just, before you even hear what's going on, just share the video with everybody who has a gun, because everybody needs to hear this. So there are 4 rules to gun safety. And I'm going to share those with you today because I have the understanding that there are people that follow me who are new to the firearms industry and don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of gun safety. So I'm going to provide you today with 4 of the most important gun safety rules. Now, it's not to say these are the only 4. There are several gun rules out there, but these are 4 that will get you safe and keep you safe from the jump if you are a first-time firearms owner or if you've been doing this thing for a long time. Sometimes even our seasoned folks need reminders. So rule number 1, treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Now, I have my Glock 19X right here, and I'm going to insert my mag and I'm going to put it back knowing that I didn't chamber a round. I'm going to take my gun out and I'm going to inspect it, but I'm not going to shoot it yet. But since I'm not going to shoot it, I want to check it to make sure there's nothing in the chamber. I'm going to physically check it and I'm going to visually check it, because sometimes we settle with only physically checking our guns to make sure they're not loaded, but we also need to visually check, because sometimes we can physically check, but sometimes that might not work because we didn't visually check, and once we pull the trigger, there could have been a round in the chamber. So treat every firearm as if it's loaded. I don't care if your husband said, "Here, babe, check out this gun," and you checking it out and you just looking. Nope. The first thing you have to do is he gives it to you. Let's say he gives it to you loaded. Well, not loaded, but with a magazine in there. He gives it to you, said, check it out. Check out this gun. Check out this nice 19X that I got Cerakoted for you so beautifully. Got good stippling on it. The first thing she should do is say, let me release this mag, and then let me visually check the gun, and then physically check the gun by pointing in a safe direction to make sure there's nothing in the chamber. Now I can look at it real nice, making sure everything looks good like I told him to get it done for me. By the way, my husband did not get this done for me. This was something I did, just using that as an example. Either way, that's how you want to handle your firearms. You can't even trust the closest ones, i.e. your spouse, your best friend, your children, whoever. You can't trust them when they say it's not loaded or there's not one up top, meaning there's not one in the chamber. You can't trust them. You have to trust yourself and know that I'm going to double check this gun to make sure there's nothing in there. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, keep your finger out of the trigger guard and off the trigger until you're ready to fire. A lot of times, if you've been on social media and on YouTube, you will know that you see some, I'll call them dumb people online handling guns because they think it's all fire and cool and nobody else can do it like them. And they're handling their gun, and I'm not going to do it for the purposes of this video, but they're handling their gun with their finger in the trigger guard and just doing all this thuggish type ghetto stuff when it's not smart. I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching this video right now have seen the videos where they're doing all that stuff and the gun goes off because there's one in the chamber. Keep your finger out of the trigger guard and off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Handle your gun until you're in a position to actually put your finger in the trigger guard, pull the trigger, and fire the shot. I didn't chamber around, so no shot's going to go off. Rule number 2. Rule number 3, after you are holding your gun, you want to make sure you're keeping your muzzle pointed in a safe direction. Right now, I'm at the gun range. I'm in a safe and controlled environment, and I am pointing my gun towards the bird. Now, I have my husband behind the camera, so I'm not going to do one of these numbers and actually start pointing it towards him. because that is not a safe direction. I don't want to shoot my husband. I don't want to accidentally allow my gun to go off because I pointed it in the wrong direction. So I'm going to always point it in the direction where I'm ready to fire. Things I don't want to destroy, things I don't want to kill or unalive. Okay, so you want to make sure your gun is pointed in areas that you don't want to harm. Even something as simple as pointing it down, you want to make sure you're clear of your feet and your legs and your hands. I don't want to accidentally run my hand in front of my muzzle because my gun could potentially go off. Hopefully it won't. Or if I accidentally put my finger in the trigger guard and I run my hand by the muzzle of my gun and pow, there goes my finger. It all goes back to rules number 1 and number 2. Make sure your gun has been checked to see if it's loaded or unloaded. Number 2, making sure you keep your finger out of the trigger guard and off the trigger until you're ready to fire. And number 3, keep my gun pointed in a safe direction. Safe directions are usually downrange. If you have a rifle, you usually want to point it up, unload it. And sometimes pointing it down could be a good option. Again, you want to make sure you're not flagging and sweeping your feet. Flagging means, again, pointing it in areas that you don't want to harm or want to destroy. Finally, rule number 4. You want to make sure that you know your target and what's beyond and behind your target when you're shooting. I'm going to chamber this gun. My finger is off the trigger. My gun is loaded. I'm going to shoot this gun at my target. And I'm going to shoot again. And I shot it at my target. Now, I'm going to go look at my target to see what has happened. All right, so here's my target. I've been shooting earlier. So here are my 9mm shots. And yeah, that's where I wanted it to be. I'm going to look back here, make sure everything looks good. But as I keep looking, well, there's poor Pinky. I did not realize Pinky was even back here. And I got Pinky twice in the chest and in the ribs because I did not know Pinky was back there. You have to know your target and what's beyond and behind your target, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for every ammo that comes out of your gun and that was pulled by your trigger finger. So I'd probably be going to jail because I was shooting my target, but I unalived somebody back there. And so you have to be conscious and aware. Obviously at gun ranges, it's a little less, what do I say? It's not as bad as what I'll say at a gun range, because obviously if you're practicing good firearms and gun safety rules, then you will know what is beyond your target. But in a real life situation, if you're defending yourself and you happen to shoot a threat, you have to know what's behind that threat. You have to know if there's a car behind that threat with a baby in it. You have to know if there's another person behind that threat who you didn't even see. You have to know those types of things. And obviously, under stress conditions, you got a millisecond to think. From my understanding, you have a millisecond to think. I haven't been in a situation where I had to, do those types of things, but those 4 rules are what every gun owner needs to know. Share this video with everybody who owns a gun in your family, in your circle, in your club, at your job, wherever you are. 4 rules of gun safety. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Keep your finger out of the trigger guard and off the trigger until you're ready to shoot or fire. Keep your muzzle pointed in a safe direction at all times. And finally, number 4, know your target and what's beyond and behind it. I hope this helps somebody. Share this video. I should see so many shares, so many comments. Please, if y'all don't like any other video I've put out this year or so far on my gun journey of this YouTube stuff, make sure you share this one. Until next time, guys, stay on, stay safe, and stay vigilant. Peace.